Hi everybody, I'm Diane Applewhite. Today I am making chicken and dressing. Now it's not the way I normally make dressing. That's another video. Today is chicken and dressing as in a meal in and of itself. Kind of like a casserole. Watch. The first thing I'm doing is frying 3 strips of bacon. I cut the bacon up. So here it is with the fat rendered out of it, and this bacon is smelling pretty good. I'm going to leave the bacon in here, but now I am going to add my vegetables. What I have here, I have cut up in the food processor. I chopped in the food processor 4 stalks of celery, a small onion, and a small bell pepper. Now I'm going to put it and let it simmer or saute in this bacon fat. Now this is cooking pretty well, but what I forgot to mention is along with the celery, the onion, and the bell pepper, I did add 4 large cloves of garlic. So now that this is going pretty well, I am going to add about a half carton of this chicken stock. I'm just going to pour right in and kind of fill the pot up about halfway like this. The thing I'm going to add to this, to the simmer, is a half stick of butter. I'll put that in there right now. That back at the counter is everything else that's going to go into the chicken and the dressing, starting with the cornbread. This is the cornbread I made yesterday and crumbled it into bits and pieces. It's buttermilk cornbread. I'm going to go ahead and get that into this bowl. And this is, this is about 2 cups of cornbread. Next, with the cornbread, is something that, you know, I don't hardly do with dressing. But in this case, since it's the chicken and dressing, I am going to add, and this is about 4 cups. This is a whole, this is about 4 cups of rotisserie chicken. To the cornbread and the chicken, I have a bag of seasoned stuffing mix that I'm going to add. And it's basically just any old seasoned stuffing mix that I found, and I'm using it for the extra seasoning. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon for my herbs. I'm just going to add a teaspoon of ground thyme. Ooh, my goodness. Hope that's not too much. And then, not a lot of sage, just a half a teaspoon of sage. I'm going to put in about a 1/4 cup for now of sugar. About a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon and a half of salt for now, and about a tablespoon of coarse black pepper. I like a lot of black pepper. I'm going to get that stirred up in there a little bit. And then something else that I don't hardly use is I am going to use a can of this condensed cream of chicken soup. And man, this dressing could be for a bigger occasion because, wow, I didn't expect to get this much out of it. And then what I'm going to do is I have 2 eggs. I'm going to beat up a little bit and throw it in there too. It's time to add the vegetables I had back there on the stove. And I did taste this broth. I did taste it. I'm going to taste it again. And you know, it tastes pretty good to not have a lot added to it. I think it's the bacon fat that's making the difference. So this is cooled down. So now I can go ahead and just pour it right here into the chicken and the dressing. This is how I'm going into the trenches. I'm not going to do it too long, just to get it nice and moist, the way I like it. I got the dressing into this dish. I'm only going to make half of it and store the other away because for me, when it comes to dressing, less is more. So I got it in this little casserole dish, and I added some of the bacon, some of the chicken broth in here to loosen it up. Let me get a fork to loosen it and kind of get it the consistency that I like. I don't want it dry, and I don't want it too wet. And so what I normally do with something like this is I just gauge it. I let it bake and gauge you know, how it's baking, determine if I need to add more broth. At this point, I wanted to go into the oven, which I have preheated now at 350 degrees. And what I want to do, I want this to go into the oven, and I want the consistency of it to be pretty wet. So I'm going to add the rest of this into it. Not the rest, but pretty much the rest. And kind of stir it around a bit like this, like I'm doing. I'm going to stir it in here and get it moving around. And while it's baking, I'll go back in there and just keep checking on it to make sure it's not dried out. If I need to, I will add more of the broth to it if I need to. And if it looks too wet, then I know how to drain it. But I'm going to also add a few more pats, about a couple of more tablespoons of butter, which I like to do. I'm just going to go ahead and put some and just put it in some different places. You know what? I'm going to put that little big old pat there, and I'll put that pat there, and I'll be through with the butter. But I'm going to tell you something, what I'm seeing, and this is the first time I'm ever making some chicken and dressing like this, but what I'm seeing is I can understand why a lot of people may make this chicken and dressing on a regular basis and even use it, you know, for holidays, because this is some pretty tasty stuff. I didn't have to add any more to it. I like using parsley flakes, so I did add a couple of tablespoons of parsley flakes to it, and I may have put a little bit more salt into it, but otherwise I didn't have to it tasted pretty good even off the bat. So I am going to put this in this preheated oven for it's on 350 degrees, and I'm going to let it bake for about 30 minutes. I'm going to check on it and see where it is in terms of consistency and baking. And I think right now, though, I put a little bit more of this broth in it. because I really like mine's wet. And let me show you what I mean when I say I like it wet. You kind of see how that water is running back and forth. That's how I like it to be when I put it into the oven. So I am going to put this in the oven and let it bake for about, again, for about 20 or 30 minutes, and then I'll keep checking. Well, it's at the 30-minute mark. I've just taken it out of the oven. I'm going to let you see. Let me push this over so you can see that I did have it in the oven. It was covered, as a matter of fact. So now I'm going to uncover it and let you see what it looks like. It's kind of puffed up there. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more. Let me bring it in just a little bit more so you can see that how that broth so far has cooked this way out of there. Now it's still wet, but not as wet as it was when I first put it in there, and the butter has melted all, you know, into it. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to place it back in the oven for the remainder. But what I want to do, just to make sure that it doesn't dry out too much, and then I'll gauge that again, I am going to put, this is like about maybe like a half cup of what's left in here, but I'm going to put about 1/4 of that in here. And then I'm going to put it back in the oven this time. For the remainder of the time, it's going to go back in there uncovered. And what I'm going to do is, until it's done, I'm just going to go through and just make sure that it soaks up all the broth, that it's not watery, that it's the consistency that I like. And then I am going to do this. I'm going to let this stay in here until it browns. Get a nice little brown on it. It is out of the oven. Look. You see that golden brown? I'm here for the final verdict. And yep, I made some yams and I fried some cabbage. So you know, if I got this little plate out, you know it means I got to check out this dressing. Chicken and dressing, that is. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm just going to take a little bit out right here. And I want you to see. Can you see? So you can see. I hope you can see. I'm kind of making a mess. But I'm going to take a little bit out of here. We get ready to check it out. Wait a minute. Let me make sure that I got this turned just. Yeah, look. You can even see. Look, check it out. Chicken and dressing, yams. And I'm just going to have to give you a peek at the cabbage. There the cabbage, looking good. Okay. Now, let me check this out. Look. This is good. And I got a chunk of chicken in there. Ooh, chicken and dressing. Sure did. Thanks for watching. Watch again. Till next time. Bye-bye.